bringing you the one guy in Virginia who understands business. He's an entrepreneur that can sort this whole thing out. Former candidate for lieutenant governor and now Fox News contributor Pete Snyder. Pete, great to have you with us.
Johnny Fredericks, great to be back on with the honey badger of Virginia politics. No one can keep you down. I hear the empire is expanding again up to Northern Virginia and D.C. Is that right?
It is. That rumor is true. Starting a week from tomorrow on Tuesday, we'll be on AM 900, and then further plans for that in hopefully Richmond and some other areas. So that's it. They can't keep the empire. The empire strikes back.
Well, I'm certain that the citizens of Northern Virginia will be lining the streets and throwing rose petals and flowers at the tanks when the John Fredericks tanks roll in.
Well, they'll be throwing something at me. I'm not sure it's that, but
like
sometimes
in a cage.
That's right. Sometimes
I don't even want to enumerate that one.
Sometimes you got to have your arms out, and sometimes you got to be able to duck. So we'll have to see which one. Probably 50-50. Anyway, glad to have you on, Pete. And look, it was interesting. I was on a conference call last night with Virginia House leadership. And one of the things they were talking about is brace yourself, because tomorrow the Chamber of Commerce have this big press conference in Richmond. They're going to tell everybody how business community is lined up in Virginia behind Medicaid expansion. Our own chamber in Southeast Virginia, the Hampton Roads Chamber of Commerce, normally stays out of this stuff. Well, they're up there. They're weighing in. And Howell was saying, they're going to try to tell you that business is behind it, but they're not really representative of a lot of businesses, just some of the big businesses that are funding them. What say you?
Well, look, I think the speaker has a very good point. And as you said earlier, look, I know the chamber well. I've worked with many of the chambers throughout the Commonwealth, done a lot of work with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And, one thing I will tell you is business and business executives tend to be carnivores, right? There's money in front of them. They usually go after it. And I think that's the case that you have right here in Virginia, unfortunately. I got to give credit to Governor Terry McAuliffe. He has worked over the chamber crowd very, very well. Some people say he's not doing anything legislatively, and that may be true, but the schmooze factor is up to 11 of this for Spinal Tap, and he's worked that crowd very well. He did it in his campaign, and it continued on into his first couple weeks of governance. And these guys are carnivores, and you say, hey, look, you and I may look back, and your viewers or your listeners out there, John, will say, this is a trap. This is the expansion of Obamacare in Virginia. The federal government is trying to give you billions of dollars to get you hooked, and then when it disappears, you're going to be stuck in the system. So, and the taxpayers of Virginia are going to be left to fill the hole. Oftentimes, the business community would say, wait a minute, there are billions of dollars at stake today. Hey, go for it. And it's just a very short-sighted viewpoint.
And, the thing is, one of the things they were saying is that a lot or some of the bigger donors of the chamber, some of the bigger members that give them funding are private hospitals. Everybody knows if Medicaid expansion in Virginia goes through, private hospitals stand to gain a windfall. And so they were saying, look, at the end of the day, the big chambers are just a big lobbying group, and they're lobbying for the group that's providing them with the big dollars. Is that true?
Without a doubt, there is an economic incentive for many members of the chamber, and that's why, again, like carnivores, they're going after the free meat in front of them. But, as a party, we need to get away from just being the party of no, John. You and I have talked about this before, and I think it behooves us to be putting solutions on the table. I got to commend the speaker. I think the plan to audit the Medicaid system was the right step to do. I think if we get in under the hood and really realize and show to the public exactly where their taxpayer dollars are going and what waste is happening in the system, and then you co-opt Democrats and say, hey, look, you want to work to bridge the gap of the uninsured? Terrific. Let's go in. Let's do an autopsy of the system as it exists right now. Make innovative reforms to the system and then use the money that we saved to cover the gap. I think that's a great plan. And it puts, as you know, John, sometimes the best defense is a damn good offense, and we need to get better at that as Republicans in Virginia.
Well, Pete, I think you hit it on the head, because if I were to ask 100 people right now that are listeners of my show, and many of them very, very active, very, very informed, know what's going on, and said, what is the Democrats' position on people that don't have coverage, they'd say expand Medicaid. If I asked 100 people what the Republicans' position is, they wouldn't give me an alternative. They would say stop Medicaid expansion. And I think that sums it up, Pete, right there.
Absolutely, John. We need to, when we are on the offensive, when we're bringing new ideas to the table as a party, as we've done for decades, whether it's through welfare reform or, an issue that's near and dear to my heart, education reform, making sure that we have more charter schools, making sure that we have real choice out there. Those are issues that resonate with voters. It resonates. But when you're just sitting back on your heels and letting the other guys run over you and saying no, 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 and screaming it at the top of your lungs, that's no way to live, and that's no way to lead. We have a great opportunity, and I know a lot of people are down in the mouth, and 2014, and Democrats take over. We have a Democratic governor. The Democrats took over the Virginia Senate. President Obama's doing everything that he's doing in Washington. And it seems like really rough time, and for our country and for our Constitution, it is. That said, for a party that wants to make a comeback, these are the greatest times ever. If you're a unit chairman in Virginia or a college Republican chairman sitting on your campus, and you can't double the size of your membership in an environment like this, something's wrong. We have an unbelievable opportunity in 2014 to start the comeback nationally, but also in Virginia, and it starts right here.
I think it does, out. And again, on this conference call last evening, I don't think as much pressure as Governor McAuliffe is going to put on some Republicans. I didn't sense that they were going to fold their tent in any way. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. And we're back with Pete Snyder, Fox News contributor. Pete, why don't we talk about for a minute the 10th district race, the retiring Frank Wolf, an iconic figure, retiring. We got a 3-person primary there, and some Democrats are saying, hey, that could be a seat that the Dems could flip. You're in the area. What say you?
Well, I think we have a terrific opportunity to keep that seat. It's been a Republican seat for many, many years under Frank Wolf. It's certainly much more competitive in Northern Virginia these days, but I think if we get the right candidate in there, the right conservative candidate, and I think we have one in Barbara Comstock, that's going to be a race that the entire nation is going to be watching. And I think if we have Barbara Comstock as our nominee, she's been a great conservative in the House of Delegates in Richmond. I can't remember in the past 30 years a more conservative elected official inside the Beltway. We've had a decent amount of Republicans over the years inside the Beltway, but many of them are pretty squishy moderates, and they do what they feel they have to do to remain elected in a changing environment in Northern Virginia. Not Barbara. She puts it to the wall all the time and votes her conscience as a good conservative, and she wins. She does something that Republicans in Virginia haven't been doing very well. She puts her money where her mouth is time and time again and wins. So I think we have a great opportunity if she's our nominee.
So you believe, Pete Snyder, that Barbara Comstock is the best choice for Republicans in that nominating process, right?
Absolutely. I think she's a proven winner, and she's a proven conservative. She's been involved in the movement, the conservative movement, for over 30 years. She takes all of the tough votes, doesn't duck a bullet at all in in the House of Delegates. And look, for crying out loud, she won in Terry McAuliffe's home district. Unbelievable. So I think she has a great opportunity to take that seat. As far as the race, as far as I know right now, I think only one other candidate has filed, John. So while we've had a couple people announce that they're going to run and make a lot of noise, best as I know, only one other is filed right now. So that's watch that.
Who is that? Marshall? Bob?
No, I think it's the other guy.
Howie Lind.
And
one other guy's filed. Yeah, so we'll have to see how it plays out. But look, you have to win. If anybody listens to my show, I'm for the most conservative candidate in the Republican nominating process who can win. Because if they can't win, it really doesn't matter. It's a waste of time.
John, I got to tell you, it is so refreshing being a conservative, as you and your listeners know that I am, in Northern Virginia. So often we get people in office and then they squish out. And, Pete, it's hard. I needed to vote for that tax increase because it's hard, in the suburbs and blah, blah, blah. Barbara doesn't. Barbara took a lot of heat, and she did the right thing, and she voted against that massive transportation tax increase. And sure enough, Barbara continues to have the support of the business community. So, you can do the right thing, be a good conservative, and still carry the business community and still do a great job right up here in Northern Virginia. She's going to be a tremendous congresswoman.
Hey, Pete, if people want to catch you on Fox News, is there a specific time that you're on, or do you just comment on certain things as they come up, or do you have like a certain...
it's just whenever the mood strikes Roger Ailes. So I think I'm usually on about 4 or 5 times a week. I try to, if it's not late notice, I try to tweet something out. You can follow me at Pete Snyder. Also find me on Facebook at Pete Snyder VA. So I usually try to get the word out there, and you can catch me. I'm on many of the primetime shows and a lot of the daytime and morning shows as well. So it's a lot of fun in addition to my duties as CEO of Disruptor Capital. So we're fighting the good fight out there.
I'm going to tweet Rachel Maddow and see if you can get I'd love to see you
debate
Maddow.
I'm contractually not allowed to go on the MSNBC shows. As much as I'd love to put the flak jacket on and mix it up. I have before with Rachel and a lot of the knuckleheads over there at MSNBC. And by the way, John, I think we do need to properly toast this morning the end of the reign of terror on CNN of Piers Morgan.
Oh, my God. Yes, I'm glad you brought that up.
We're deporting that son of a gun back to the UK, and I think as we do it, why don't we get rid of that Bieber guy and send him up north with the gold medal to Canada. Kenny
Johnson was commenting on that earlier. I want him to weigh in. We're out of time, but...
Well, all I said is them firing Piers Morgan is kind of like calling the fire department after the house is burned to the ground.
Very true, very true. Right. Well, hey, John and Kenny, thanks for having me on. We're excited to have you up here in Northern Virginia. Continue to tell the truth. The honey badger returns.
The honey badger, there we go.